before we get to the journey of recovery, right? How are you feeling inside right now?
I have tears behind my eyes, and I have a sort of sense of, there's two senses as well, sort of slowly welling up in me here. And one of the senses is that, wow, that was an interesting story, telling it like that. And some elements of it I've said before, but some I hadn't. And looking at it like that. And I also don't want to land in the familiarity of that story and then, oh, and it was okay. Because you know what? It wasn't okay.
What wasn't okay about it? Like, give us more. Tell me more.
The feelings, everything I was doing was not okay.
Can I ask you a question around that in particular? Like, there are certain times in your story that I got really curious. Really curious. You talked about the Friday morning when you went into your office, and you had tears like streaming down your face, and you're like, I don't want to do this. Like, can you take me to that there? Like then shortly afterwards you talked about like the dizziness, the trouble getting up, the trouble sleeping, and this like feeling the pressure there. I would love to, like, you walk into the room. If you can take me to that day, you're walking to the room, to your office. You go there, it's a Friday morning. Most other people are excited, it's the end of the week, and for you there's tears like running down your face. Like, what was going on through your mind? What led to it? Like, it wasn't just a spontaneous thing per se. Like, what was to the extent that you can remember, can you take us to that moment and
Yeah,
maybe just
I
walk me
can.
through?
I can. It was this, it's this sense of pressure that was just always there now, and relentless. So each day then a new problem arose, a new challenge, something new was being thrown at me. And I felt this sort of, I was already bearing up, under an incredible weight, and felt so, this sort of constriction inside me. And and it, and I don't even know what it was that triggered, what actual event happened. But it was, and it might have been nothing. It might have been literally, I had arrived at work and I go in there and I look at that, it's a new day, and what am I doing here? I don't even want to be here. I didn't even like the aesthetical, the actual surroundings. They weren't even inspiring for me. I actually hated the school building I was having to work in. Up until that point in my life, I had always lived and worked in beautiful places, funnily enough. And so that, and I think, so it was just walking into this room and closing that door behind me. And as I say, and I think it was closing the door. It was just like, I just need to close the door. I just need to breathe. And it was like, I just need to shut out everything when I did that. And I just stood there, and it was like, I still can't breathe. It's still all here. And this feeling of, I don't want to be here. And it was going through my head. It's like, I could just pick up my bag and I could walk out and never, ever come back. And just the fact that that was going through my head at that time, it was there. It was there. And then, of course, the voice of reason sort of came over and went, you can't. You have kids to pay for. You know, you have a home to sort out for them. You have no choice right now. Walk over to that desk, sit down, get in front of that computer and do your work. I think it was just after that as well. Some people came in and they were bringing up a problem. And I remember standing there and trying to deal with that conversation, just wanting to cry. And I maybe even said something like that. I don't know, you know, and going, I'm at the limit. I cannot take one more thing. And you know, and I can't even remember whether I did that or didn't, but I may have done, because I was so weak that the sort of the, you know, I couldn't be professional enough to keep that to myself. So I may have even said a sentence along those lines. And I remember then letting them out again and shutting the door and just like, it was like, I forced myself to do everything. I forced myself forward. I kept going. And it was and kept ignoring all of the signals, you know, but it wasn't like I was ignoring, it was actively pushing them aside. And I'd been doing that for a long time, you know, warning signals, etc., and going, no, because this is the way forward. This is making something possible for my sons to stay here. And you know, I've given them the Astrid Lindgren upbringing on Gotland in the middle of the Baltic Sea. Now they're getting streetwise in you know, the big city Stockholm. And this is my life work. This is me being the best possible mother I can be. There was that part of me. And there was also another part of me, Niyama, that was going, and I need this too. You know, that island was too small for me. I also wanted to stretch my wings and fly finally. And to also be an environment where I could grow more, you know, even more, and be in a more international place. I over many years, I was missing using, you know, missing my mother tongue. I spent 25 years speaking other languages and very little of my mother tongue. So 10 years German, 15 years of Swedish, or 12 years, 15, whatever. And I also think that part of me wanted that, because I saw myself living in Stockholm. I saw myself living a different life, and I wanted it too. So I don't want this story to be just about, oh, wasn't she an amazing mother that did all that for her kids? That was one driver, but there was like this selfish, self-first, I want this too. This is, you know, it's time. And when I say that, then another reflection comes up. And I think that's why it's still raw and so hurts, because part of me is going, and it didn't really work out, or it still hasn't really worked out as you imagined it. And you're still working towards that lifestyle, that way of being in Stockholm. It's been elusive, and you're chasing it. Yeah. And that, and it's sort of, and of course that, no, I'm not, I was going to say something, but that becomes an intellectual self-coaching. So we'll leave what happened previously in life, you know, that could be that's not relevant today, is sort of like, yeah, it was that today, it was like I had a glimpse of what it would feel like to earn a good salary, to live in a city, to be able to have easy access to the stimulus that I wanted to have intellectually and emotionally, and the richness of living in a city when I'd been and also to be close to the countryside, to have that sort of the Stockholm is not a very big city. It's easy to get out into the archipelago and enjoy the beauty of the nature and the countryside. So it's like I still had both. And I had this glimpse as I was a principal, and then I lost it all. It all disappeared. It all, and there's this sort of feeling of sort of always striving after something and never quite getting there. Not for me. And so the stories of, do I deserve this? Those negative thoughts, those things that are going to pull me down and go, maybe you're never going to get there. Maybe you're just going to pretend and play being that person that you want to be. And that I've never said before. I've thought it though, but I've never said it out loud. So in some ways, it's a bit like, when I say that burnout, when I want to do the self-coaching thing, burnout was a good thing. It was a gift and an opportunity. Yeah, at some level it was. But you know what? Not really at the level that I would like it to be, because I haven't come back to that feeling I had of power and being in control of my life and my destiny, that I'm still in a space where I am, in a fantastic supportive relationship, and together, we're creating a lovely life, but it's still not, I still don't feel that I am contributing and I am that powerhouse I was. At the same time as I don't want to be the same sort of powerhouse I was, because I understand now that was destructive. I always emptied myself.
It's the World Joy Movement. Yeah. What was your greatest insight from this conversation? And if you want to come and be a part of a conversation like this live, it's really simple. Just go to beworldjoy.com and come introduce yourself, and let's take the conversation to the next level, because you're there now.
All right, let's play.